The story of Santa Claus begins long before red suits, flying sleighs, and reindeer in an ancient place called Patara, a small coastal town in what is now southwestern Turkey. Around the year 270 AD, a child named Nicholas was born into a wealthy and deeply religious Christian family who were known throughout the region for their generosity and kindness. From a very young age, Nicholas showed a quiet and compassionate nature, choosing to spend time with the poor, the sick, and those who struggled to survive in difficult times. His parents taught him that wealth was meant to be shared, and they encouraged him to see every person, no matter how poor, as someone worthy of dignity and care. When Nicholas was still a young boy, a terrible sickness swept through Patara, taking both of his parents and leaving him orphaned with a large inheritance and a deep sense of responsibility. Heartbroken, but determined to honor his parents' values, Nicholas vowed to dedicate his life to helping others, especially those who could not repay kindness in return. Nicholas was raised by his uncle, who was a bishop, and he grew up surrounded by the teachings of Christianity, learning about compassion, humility, and service to humanity. As he grew older, Nicholas became known throughout the region as a young man who combined deep faith with a gentle personality and a surprising sense of courage. One of the earliest stories of Nicholas's generosity involves a poor father with 3 daughters who could not afford dowries, leaving the girls at risk of being forced into slavery. Nicholas heard of their desperate situation and knew the father was too proud to accept charity publicly, so he planned a secret act of kindness that would change the family's life. Late one night, Nicholas carried a small bag of gold to the family's home and quietly dropped it through an open window, then quickly disappeared into the darkness before anyone noticed. The family discovered the gold the next morning, and the eldest daughter was saved from a tragic fate, bringing relief and joy to the entire household. When the time came for the second daughter to marry, Nicholas returned under the cover of night, once again dropping a bag of gold in secret. This second gift amazed the father, who now felt determined to discover who their mysterious benefactor was, believing no ordinary person could be so generous. On the night Nicholas returned with a third bag of gold for the youngest daughter, the father hid near the window and waited silently to see who had been helping them. When Nicholas appeared, the father rushed outside, fell to his knees, and thanked him with tears in his eyes for saving all 3 of his daughters. Nicholas asked the father to tell no one what he had done, explaining that the greatest acts of charity were those performed quietly without expectation of praise. This story became one of the most famous legends about Nicholas and established the foundation of the gift-giving tradition we now associate with Santa Claus. As Nicholas grew older, his reputation for compassion spread, and many people came to him seeking help, guidance, and comfort during difficult times. Nicholas later moved to the city of Myra, where he continued his acts of kindness, often leaving food, money, and supplies for the poor without revealing his identity. The people of Myra admired Nicholas for his kindness, wisdom, and gentle leadership, and after the previous bishop passed away, Nicholas was chosen to become the new Bishop of Myra. As bishop, Nicholas became even more influential, traveling throughout the region to help those in need, defend the innocent, and protect children from harm or exploitation. Another early story describes Nicholas rescuing three innocent men who were wrongly sentenced to death by stepping forward publicly and confronting the corrupt official responsible. His bravery saved their lives, and the people began to see him as a protector not only of the poor, but also of justice, fairness, and truth. Nicholas continued to give generously, often leaving food on doorsteps during harsh winters or placing coins in the shoes of children who left them outside overnight. Many of his gifts were delivered secretly at night, not to hide his identity for fame, but because he believed kindness should be an expression of love, not a search for recognition. Nicholas also became known as the protector of sailors because of stories describing how he calmed violent storms and guided ships safely to harbor during dangerous voyages. Sailors across the Mediterranean prayed to Nicholas for safety, and his image was often carved into ship masts as a symbol of hope and protection. His influence grew so widely that he became a beloved figure throughout Asia Minor, celebrated for his miracles, courage, and generosity. Despite his growing fame, Nicholas continued to live simply, wearing modest clothing, eating simple meals, and focusing his time on helping those who had no one else to turn to. As a spiritual leader, Nicholas taught people the importance of compassion, forgiveness, and generosity, reminding them that wealth was a responsibility, not a reward. During times of famine, Nicholas organized grain supplies to feed entire villages, convincing ship captains to share their cargo and ensuring no family was left hungry. Stories of Nicholas's miracles spread far beyond his homeland, and many believed he possessed a special gift from God to help those in danger or despair. One such story tells of Nicholas appearing in a dream to a group of kidnapped children, guiding them safely home after they had been taken far from their families. Another legend describes Nicholas praying for a ship stranded in a violent storm, and moments later, the winds calmed and the sailors were saved from drowning. These stories strengthened his reputation as a protector of children, travelers, sailors, and anyone who faced danger or injustice. Nicholas became known as a man of extraordinary kindness, who gave without hesitation, spoke with gentleness, and lived a life devoted entirely to serving others. As he grew older, Nicholas became a symbol of goodness, generosity, and courage, and people across the region viewed him as a living example of compassion. On December 6th, around the year 343 AD, Nicholas passed away peacefully, leaving behind a legacy so powerful that legends about him continued to grow for centuries. After his death, people began celebrating his memory every year on December 6th, a day known as St. Nicholas Day, where children received little gifts in his honor. Over time, churches, chapels, and shrines dedicated to Nicholas were built across Europe, and he became one of the most beloved saints in Christian history. Travelers carried tales of his generosity to distant lands, and gradually his story spread across continents, inspiring countless new traditions. In many European countries, children placed shoes outside their doors on the eve of St. Nicholas Day, hoping to find small gifts, coins, or sweets inside the next morning. As centuries passed, new legends were added to Nicholas's story, blending historical facts with folklore and turning him into a larger-than-life symbol of kindness. In the Netherlands, St. Nicholas became known as Sinterklaas, a tall, solemn figure in bishop's robes who arrived every winter to bring gifts to good children. Dutch families celebrated Sinterklaas with songs, parades, and small presents, and these treasured customs kept the memory of Nicholas alive across generations. When Dutch immigrants eventually traveled to America, they brought the tradition of Sinterklaas with them, unknowingly planting the seed for the modern Santa Claus. Over time, the name Sinterklaas gradually changed in pronunciation, eventually becoming Santa Claus, a name that would soon take on a life of its own. Though the Santa Claus we know today looks very different from the historical Nicholas, the heart of the legend remains the same, a man who cared deeply about helping others. The transformation from Saint Nicholas to Santa Claus would continue over many centuries, blending folklore, art, literature, and imagination into the cheerful figure we know today. The transformation of Saint Nicholas into the modern Santa Claus was not sudden. It unfolded gradually over hundreds of years as cultures merged, stories evolved, and imaginations expanded. In medieval Europe, St. Nicholas's reputation as a miracle worker and protector continued to grow, and children saw him as a heavenly friend who cared deeply for them. During this time, St. Nicholas was often depicted wearing long bishop's robes, carrying a staff, and traveling on foot or horseback to visit families and bless children. Many families believed Nicholas visited homes at night, rewarding good children with gifts and leaving gentle reminders for those who needed guidance to behave better. As Christianity spread, traditions honoring Nicholas mixed with local customs, blending old pagan winter festivals with celebrations of generosity and light. Some cultures believed Nicholas traveled with a helper who recorded children's behavior, creating early versions of the naughty or nice tradition. In Germany and Austria, St. Nicholas was sometimes accompanied by a frightening figure who represented consequences for misbehavior, creating a dramatic balance between kindness and discipline. Meanwhile, in the Netherlands, the character of Sinterklaas became more defined, arriving each winter wearing red and white robes and traveling with attendants who helped deliver gifts. Dutch children eagerly awaited the arrival of Sinterklaas, who sailed from distant lands, rode a white horse across rooftops, and delivered treats through chimneys. Families celebrated his visit with songs, feasts, and small presents, keeping the spirit of generosity alive during the darkest days of winter. When Dutch settlers crossed the Atlantic and arrived in the American colonies, they brought the cherished Sinterklaas traditions with them. In the melting pot culture of early America, many European customs began blending together, creating new interpretations of old legends. Over time, the name Sinterklaas was gradually simplified by English speakers, transforming into the familiar name Santa Claus. At first, Santa Claus looked very similar to Sinterklaas, still wearing long robes and carrying a staff as he traveled from house to house. But America's growing love for storytelling and imagination soon began reshaping Santa into a unique character with new traits, symbols, and personality. One of the most important turning points came in 1823, when an anonymous poem later attributed to Clement Clarke Moore was published, A Visit from St. Nicholas. This poem introduced many features of the modern Santa, describing him as a jolly, plump, and lively figure who arrived on Christmas Eve in a magical flying sleigh. It was in this poem that Santa first appeared with 8 reindeer, each with a name, pulling a sleigh filled with toys over the snowy rooftops of sleeping families. Moore's poem also introduced the idea of Santa entering homes through the chimney, carrying a bag full of gifts and laughing with a cheerful "ho, ho, ho." These charming details captured the imaginations of readers, and Santa began evolving rapidly into a warm and magical figure loved by children everywhere. As newspapers and magazines grew in popularity during the 1800s, artists began drawing their own versions of Santa based on Moore's descriptions. One of the most influential artists was Thomas Nast, whose illustrations in Harper's Weekly helped standardize Santa's appearance for an entire generation. Nast depicted Santa as a round, bearded, cheerful man wearing a red suit trimmed with white fur, a look that gradually became iconic and universally recognized. He also helped establish Santa's home at the North Pole, imagining a snowy workshop where elves built toys and Santa prepared for his yearly journey. Nast even introduced the idea of Santa keeping a book full of names, listing which children had been naughty or nice during the year. As Santa's image solidified in America, businesses began using him in advertisements, further spreading the modern Santa Claus across the country. By the early 1900s, Santa Claus had become a symbol of holiday joy, appearing in parades, movies, department stores, and greeting cards. Children lined up to sit on Santa's lap, whispering their Christmas wishes as families took photographs to preserve the memory. The combination of storytelling, art, and holiday spirit eventually transformed Santa from a religious saint into a universal figure of generosity and cheer. Across Europe and the Americas, people embraced Santa as a symbol of hope, kindness, and the magic of giving from the heart. The shift from St. Nicholas to Santa Claus reflected broader cultural changes, blending Christian values with folklore, winter traditions, and creative imagination. Santa's association with Christmas Eve grew stronger as families began giving gifts on December 24th instead of December 6th, shifting the holiday tradition. This change allowed Santa to become the centerpiece of Christmas celebrations, tying together family gatherings, gift-giving, and festive joy. Over time, Santa became not just a figure for children, but a character who represented the spirit of giving for people of all ages. In literature and songs, Santa appeared as a gentle, watchful presence who traveled the world in one night, delivering happiness wherever he went. The idea of Santa's workshop full of elves grew more detailed, with animated films and picture books showing the bustling activity inside the snowy North Pole. Santa's reindeer also became more deeply rooted in popular culture, especially after the creation of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer in the 20th century. Each new story added layers to Santa's legend, blending history with creativity and giving modern families a timeless figure of wonder. Despite all these changes, one truth remained constant. Santa's origins were firmly rooted in the kindness and compassion of the real St. Nicholas. The generous spirit Nicholas demonstrated in ancient Turkey had now grown into a worldwide tradition celebrated by millions of families. As Santa evolved, his core values remained the same: help those in need, bring joy to others, and give without expecting anything in return. This enduring message is one reason Santa remains beloved in so many cultures, transcending religions, languages, and traditions. Santa became a reminder that even one small act of kindness, like Nicholas's secret gifts of gold, can change someone's life forever. By the modern era, Santa's story had spread to nearly every corner of the world, with each culture adding its own customs and interpretations. In some places, Santa traveled in a sleigh. In others, he arrived by boat, horseback, or even on foot, adapting to local traditions. Some regions emphasized Santa's connection to St. Nicholas, while others celebrated him as a purely magical figure of winter and generosity. But no matter the version, Santa always carried the same message of hope, joy, and giving from the heart. Santa's evolution demonstrates how stories can grow, change, and expand while still preserving the values at their core. Today, when families decorate their homes, read Christmas stories, and set out cookies and milk, they are continuing a tradition nearly 1,800 years old. And behind it all is the humble man named Nicholas, whose quiet acts of kindness became one of the most cherished legends in human history. As Santa Claus grew into a global figure, each region of the world shaped him to reflect its own culture, traditions, and beliefs, creating countless fascinating variations. In the United Kingdom, the figure known as Father Christmas evolved from old winter festivals that celebrated joy, feasting, and the spirit of merriment during the coldest months. Early depictions of Father Christmas showed him as a tall man dressed in green robes who symbolized the coming of spring and the return of light after long winter nights. Over time, Father Christmas merged with the ideas surrounding St. Nicholas, taking on gift-giving roles and adopting many characteristics of Santa Claus. In France, children looked forward to the arrival of Père Noël, a warm and gentle figure who placed gifts in shoes left by the fireplace on Christmas Eve. French tradition also introduced the character Père Fouettard, who accompanied Père Noël and served as a reminder for children to behave well throughout the year. In Italy, the holiday season featured La Befana, an old woman who rode a broomstick and delivered gifts to children on the eve of Epiphany, around January 6th. Though not directly Santa, La Befana shared his message of kindness and generosity, reminding families that giving to others is a timeless virtue. In Scandinavia, ancient beliefs blended with Christian traditions to create the Julenis, or Jultomte, small gnome-like creatures who delivered gifts and protected homes. These Scandinavian gift-bringers were often depicted wearing red hats and carrying sacks of treats, bearing a resemblance to the modern Santa, but with a charming folkloric twist. In Russia and Eastern Europe, families celebrated Ded Moroz, or Grandfather Frost, a majestic winter figure dressed in long blue or silver robes. Ded Moroz traveled with his granddaughter Snegorochka and brought gifts on New Year's Eve, blending ancient Slavic traditions with modern celebrations. In Spain and many Latin American countries, the focus remained on the three wise men, who brought gifts to children on January 6th instead of Christmas Eve. But even in these regions, the influence of Santa Claus gradually grew, appearing in decorations, movies, and children's stories during the holiday season. In Germany, the Christkind, meaning Christ child, became the main holiday gift bringer, often portrayed as an angelic figure leaving presents under the tree. Yet as the world became more connected through media and travel, Santa Claus appeared alongside the Christkind, becoming a familiar and beloved symbol here as well. In Japan, Christmas became a secular celebration centered around joy and togetherness, and Santa Claus was warmly adopted into the country's seasonal traditions. Japanese families often celebrated with decorations, cakes, and Santa-themed festivities, even though Christmas was not widely celebrated before the 20th century. In Australia and New Zealand, Santa adapted to warmer climates, often depicted wearing lighter clothing and traveling through bright summer landscapes. In these Southern Hemisphere celebrations, children waited for Santa even as families enjoyed barbecues, beaches, and warm weather festivities. In parts of Africa, Santa arrived in unique ways, sometimes riding camels, boats, or even bicycles, depending on local customs and creativity. Different African regions blended Santa's spirit with traditional storytelling, singing, and community celebration, creating vibrant holiday traditions. In the Middle East, Christian communities preserved their own versions of Saint Nicholas, reflecting the region where Nicholas originally lived and served as bishop. Many families in these areas saw Santa not just as a magical figure, but as a historical person whose kindness still inspired people centuries later. Across South Asia, Santa Claus became part of festive decorations, school events, and holiday markets, symbolizing joy beyond religious boundaries. In China, Santa appeared in cities during winter celebrations, often accompanied by lanterns, fireworks, and lively street performances. Despite regional differences, the core message stayed the same. Santa represented kindness, generosity, and hope shared across cultures. As Santa spread around the world, his story continued to evolve, shaped by artists, writers, filmmakers, and musicians who added new life to the legend. Christmas movies, cartoons, and songs helped children imagine Santa in vivid detail, from his workshop at the North Pole to his team of hard-working elves. Classic films like Miracle on 34th Street and animated specials like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer became beloved parts of holiday tradition. Modern songs like Santa Claus is Coming to Town strengthened the idea of Santa watching over children, encouraging them to be kind and well-behaved. As global media expanded, Santa became one of the most recognized figures in the world, appearing in advertisements, parades, books, and television specials. Despite his widespread fame, artists continued to reimagine Santa's image, designing new interpretations while preserving his warm and generous spirit. In many ways, Santa became a universal symbol, transcending religion and nationality, representing shared human values of kindness, generosity, and love. Children around the world wrote letters to Santa, expressing their dreams, hopes, and wishes, trusting that he would listen with care. In some countries, postal services created special programs that allowed volunteers to respond to children's letters, spreading joy and compassion. The simple act of writing to Santa encouraged children to practice gratitude, reflect on their behavior, and think about the spirit of giving. Families embraced traditions such as leaving cookies and milk for Santa or carrots for his reindeer, strengthening the magical bond between imagination and celebration. Santa became a figure who brought families closer, creating memories built on warmth, storytelling, and shared wonder during the holidays. As children nestled into bed on Christmas Eve, the image of Santa flying across the sky kept the spirit of excitement alive in hearts around the world. The idea that Santa could visit every home in one night sparked imagination, encouraging children to believe in possibilities beyond logic or limitation. Parents played along with the tradition, filling stockings, wrapping gifts, and creating footprints or sleigh marks to keep the magic alive. This shared storytelling between parents and children built bonds of joy, love, and trust that lasted long after childhood ended. Santa's presence in modern culture became a powerful reminder that kindness can be passed from one generation to the next. Even adults found comfort in the idea of Santa, seeing him as a symbol of nostalgia, cherished memories, and childlike wonder. During times of difficulty or hardship, the image of Santa provided hope and a reminder that generosity could brighten even the darkest of days. Community events, charity drives, and secret gift programs often used Santa's image to inspire acts of kindness toward those in need. In this way, Santa became not just a mythical figure, but a real force of good that encouraged people to give, share, and care for one another. As decades passed, Santa's legend only grew stronger, adapting to changing times while keeping the spirit of compassion at the heart of every story. And through all these centuries of evolution, the heart of Santa's identity remained the same, a legacy built on kindness, generosity, and the power of giving. As Santa's legend expanded, the idea of a magical home where he prepared for Christmas became an essential part of the story, giving children a place to imagine Santa working year-round. The concept of the North Pole as Santa's home did not exist in the earliest traditions, but emerged during the 19th century as explorers mapped the icy Arctic regions. Writers and illustrators imagined that such a remote, mysterious location would be the perfect place for Santa to live, far from the world yet connected to every home on Earth. The North Pole became a symbol of endless snow, shimmering northern lights, and a hidden workshop where Santa and his helpers worked through the seasons. Artists drew scenes of cozy wooden buildings nestled in snowdrifts, glowing with warm light as elves busily crafted toys and prepared gifts for children. These imaginative illustrations appeared in magazines, storybooks, and advertisements, shaping the way millions of families visualized Santa's winter home. Santa's workshop grew into a bustling and magical place, filled with shelves of wooden toys, colorful dolls, spinning tops, and inventions of every kind. The elves who worked for Santa became important characters, each with their own personality, skills, and roles within the workshop. Some elves were toy makers, others cared for the reindeer, while others managed Santa's giant book of names or helped wrap and prepare gifts. The idea of elves living alongside Santa added a playful and enchanting element to the legend, making Santa's world feel lively and full of wonder. The story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, one of the most famous additions to the Santa myth, emerged in 1939 through a children's booklet created for a department store. Rudolph began as a marketing idea, but quickly became a beloved part of holiday tradition because of his inspiring story of courage and acceptance. His glowing red nose, once seen as a flaw, became the very thing that saved Christmas by helping guide Santa's sleigh through a thick winter storm. Rudolph's tale captured hearts around the world, showing that uniqueness is a strength and that even the smallest reindeer can play a heroic role. The idea of Santa's reindeer themselves dates back much earlier, rooted in Scandinavian folklore and stories about magical creatures that pulled winter sleighs across snowy landscapes. These reindeer were imagined as swift, graceful animals capable of flying through the sky with Santa, carrying gifts to children everywhere. Over time, Santa's team of reindeer grew to include familiar names like Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. Each reindeer was given its own personality and strengths, helping enrich children's imagination and making Santa's Christmas journey feel even more magical. Together, Santa and his reindeer formed a symbol of hope and wonder, reminding families that magic could exist even in the coldest winter nights. As Santa's world expanded, stories began to describe how he could visit every home in one night, a mystery that fascinated children and adults alike. Some tales explained that Santa used magic to slow down time, allowing him to deliver gifts across the globe without rushing. Others suggested that Santa could enter homes with a twinkle of light, using chimneys, windows, or even magic portals to deliver presents safely. These fantastical explanations added depth to the legend, showing that Santa's power came not from logic, but from the hearts of those who believed in him. Children embraced these stories with excitement, imagining Santa soaring across the night sky, guided by starlight and the jingling of sleigh bells. Parents enjoyed keeping the magic alive by creating footprints in the snow, ringing bells outside, or leaving evidence of Santa's visit on Christmas morning. These traditions created priceless memories that families carried with them for years, connecting generations through shared stories and joyful experiences. As Santa's character grew, so did his message of kindness and giving, inspiring countless acts of charity during the holiday season. Many communities created programs for anonymous giving, allowing people to help families in need, just as St. Nicholas once helped the poor in secret. These charitable traditions became a reflection of the true meaning of Santa's story, a reminder to care for others quietly and generously. Over time, Santa became a powerful symbol of compassion, representing the belief that even small acts of kindness could make the world brighter. In schools, churches, and community centers, Santa appeared not just as a gift bringer, but as a figure of encouragement and hope. For children facing difficult circumstances, Santa represented joy, imagination, and the promise that someone out there cared about them. Even adults found comfort in the Santa tradition, seeing it as a way to reconnect with innocence, nostalgia, and the warmth of childhood memories. The sight of Santa in a parade, shopping mall, or community event brought smiles and excitement, reminding families of the joy of giving and togetherness. Santa's image also played an important role in holiday charities, inspiring food drives, toy collections, and volunteer efforts every year. Through these acts, Santa's spirit moved beyond myth and story, becoming a real force for good in the lives of countless people. Santa's evolution continued in films, television shows, and books, each adding new layers to his personality, home, and magical abilities. Modern portrayals showed Santa as a gentle, wise figure who encouraged kindness, curiosity, and the belief that every person could make a difference. Children watched animated specials and movies that brought Santa's world to life with colorful characters, snowy landscapes, and heartwarming adventures. These portrayals helped shape the modern understanding of Santa, blending tradition, creativity, and timeless values into a beloved figure. As the world changed, Santa adapted to new cultures, technologies, and artistic styles, remaining relevant to each new generation. Yet through every transformation, Santa's core remained grounded in love, generosity, and the ancient story of Nicholas of Myra. Whether seen in a classic storybook, a modern film, or a vibrant holiday display, Santa continued to inspire the belief that kindness should be shared freely. The magic of Santa lay not just in flying reindeer or the North Pole, but in the idea that giving from the heart can change lives. As families gathered during the holidays, Santa's symbols surrounded them: twinkling lights, decorated trees, wrapped gifts, and warm traditions. These traditions connected people to centuries of storytelling, stretching back to the humble acts of kindness performed by Nicholas nearly 2,000 years ago. Today, children still wake up with excitement on Christmas morning, finding gifts that symbolize the love and thoughtfulness of those closest to them. And each year, the legend of Santa grows stronger, carried forward by families, communities, and the shared desire to bring joy to others. Santa's story reminds us that imagination has power, that kindness matters, and that traditions can unite us across time and culture. And so, the North Pole, the reindeer, and all of Santa's magical elements continue to live in our hearts, connecting the past with the hope of every Christmas yet to come. One of the most important questions about Santa Claus is why he gives gifts, and the answer reaches back to the very heart of St. Nicholas's life and values. Nicholas believed that helping others was the purest expression of love, and he gave gifts not to be thanked, but to bring hope to people who felt forgotten. His secret acts of kindness taught that generosity carried the greatest power when it came from humility and compassion, rather than the desire for recognition. Nicholas also understood that even a small gift could transform someone's life, as it did for the 3 daughters whose futures were saved by his gold. Over many generations, the idea of giving gifts quietly and selflessly became the foundation of every Santa tradition practiced around the world. When Santa delivers gifts today, he continues the spirit of Nicholas's message, that true generosity asks for nothing in return. This belief helps explain why Santa is often portrayed as giving gifts at night, symbolizing humble, unseen kindness. The tradition of giving at Christmas also reflects the Christian belief in offering love to others during a season of hope, light, and renewal. Over time, gift-giving expanded beyond religion and became a universal tradition shared by families of many cultures and backgrounds. Children see Santa as a symbol of generosity, learning that giving can be just as joyful as receiving, a lesson that stays with them as they grow older. The act of giving gifts on Christmas morning encourages families to think of others, share joy, and connect with loved ones in meaningful ways. Each wrapped present becomes more than just an object. It becomes a symbol of care, time, and thoughtfulness. Santa's role in delivering gifts helps parents teach children about kindness, empathy, and gratitude, values that shape character throughout life. Many families include traditions such as secret gift exchanges, inspired by the idea of giving without seeking praise or attention. Community charities and toy drives often use Santa's image to inspire people to help those in need, especially children who may have little to celebrate. These charitable acts bring Santa's spirit into the real world, showing that kindness is not just a story, but something we can practice every day. Santa's image has even been used to encourage generosity during times of crisis, reminding people to care for their neighbors and support their community. The giving tradition also highlights the importance of imagination, showing that belief in goodness can inspire real acts of love and generosity. Santa's message reaches beyond material gifts, reminding us that joy, comfort, and kindness are among the greatest treasures anyone can share. Even when families cannot afford expensive gifts, simple acts of love, like handwritten notes or small handmade items, carry Santa's spirit. The idea that Santa brings happiness to children around the world encourages unity, connecting people across different cultures, languages, and beliefs. Many parents leave crumbs from cookies or signs of Santa's visit to keep the magic alive, deepening the wonder in children's hearts. These small touches help create lasting memories that children remember long after they have grown up, carrying the spirit of the holidays with them. Santa's generosity also reminds adults to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with loved ones during a busy time of year. In many families, creating Christmas surprises becomes a joyful tradition, reinforcing bonds and offering opportunities to express love. Santa's image serves as a reminder that every gift carries emotion, whether it is laughter, comfort, understanding, or hope. Modern movies and stories often show Santa as someone who sees the good in every child, reflecting the belief that every person deserves kindness. This perspective encourages children to behave with kindness, honesty, and fairness, knowing that their actions have meaning. Santa's story also teaches that generosity does not require wealth. Kind words, helpful actions, and small gestures can make a big difference. The idea of Santa receiving letters from children reinforces the bond between hope and giving, as kids express their dreams and wishes openly. Some communities create Santa letter programs, where volunteers respond to children's letters, spreading real joy and connection. These programs remind people that giving time and attention can be even more meaningful than giving material gifts. Santa's traditions also highlight the importance of gratitude, encouraging children to appreciate what they receive and thank those who care for them. Families teach that sharing with others, siblings, friends, or neighbors is an important part of celebrating the holiday spirit. Santa's story helps children learn that gifts are not rewards for perfection, but expressions of love, forgiveness, and understanding. Many cultures include celebrations where families give to the poor or donate to charities, reflecting Nicholas's original acts of compassion. These traditions echo the message that caring for others is a core part of the holiday season, extending kindness to those who need it most. The warmth and excitement of giving gifts help families feel connected, turning the holiday season into a time of emotional closeness and joy. Santa's spirit encourages people to reach out to others, whether through a kind gesture, a thoughtful message, or a shared moment of happiness. Gift-giving also encourages creativity, as people craft or choose presents that carry personal meaning and reflect the uniqueness of each recipient. Santa's enduring popularity shows that people everywhere value acts of selflessness and the beauty of bringing joy to others. Despite cultural differences, Santa's role as a giver of joy is universally understood, uniting people through kindness and celebration. Santa's tradition teaches that giving is not just for children. It is a lifelong habit that strengthens communities and relationships. Through Santa's example, families learn that generosity can brighten even the darkest of seasons, bringing light into the world. The sense of magic created by Santa is not about the gifts themselves, but about the love and excitement shared between families. In many homes, parents and grandparents continue Santa, traditions as a way of passing love, warmth, and joy from one generation to the next. Santa's quiet, gentle approach to giving reminds us that kindness often works best when it is simple, heartfelt, and without expectation. Even as children grow older and learn more about Santa's origins, they carry his lessons with them, shaping how they treat others in their own lives. Santa's story encourages us to believe in goodness, reminding us that we all have the power to make the world brighter through kindness. And as his legend continues to grow, Santa remains a timeless symbol of love, generosity, and the joy of giving that lives forever in the human heart. As Santa's legend evolved, he became more than a character in stories. He became a bridge between history, imagination, and the deepest human values of kindness and compassion. Every culture that embraced Santa added its own traditions, creating a colorful tapestry of customs that continue to shape how families celebrate the holidays. Santa's ability to adapt over time shows how powerful stories can be, especially when they carry messages of love, hope, and generosity. In a world that often changes quickly, Santa remains a steady reminder of the importance of giving from the heart and helping others without expecting anything in return. Many families cherish the ritual of preparing for Santa's visit, decorating their homes, baking cookies, and telling stories that spark imagination and joy. These rituals create a sense of continuity, linking children to the traditions of their parents, grandparents, and generations before them. Santa's presence in homes around the world helps create memories that last a lifetime, strengthening family bonds through shared moments of wonder. For many children, the magic of Santa is their first experience with imagination coming to life, teaching them to dream big and believe in the impossible. As children grow older, learning the true story behind Santa becomes an important moment of understanding and emotional maturity. Parents often explain that Santa is not just a person, but a spirit of giving that everyone can carry within themselves. This transition helps children realize that they, too, can become givers of joy, kindness, and love in their own lives. In this way, Santa becomes a symbol of growing up, teaching that the magic never disappears. It simply transforms into acts of generosity. Even adults find meaning in Santa's story, seeing him as a reminder of simple joys, cherished memories, and the innocence of childhood. The excitement of watching children open gifts or the warmth of gathering with family reflects Santa's enduring influence on holiday traditions. Santa's image also inspires people to reach out to their communities, volunteering time, donating to charities, or supporting those in need. These real-world acts of kindness show that the spirit of Santa thrives not only in stories, but in the everyday compassion shared among people. Santa's influence can be seen in countless holiday events, from parades and concerts to school plays and local celebrations that bring communities together. His message encourages people to be more patient, forgiving, and understanding during the holiday season and throughout the year. Santa's story also promotes gratitude, reminding families to appreciate the love and support they receive from one another. For many, the joy of giving becomes just as meaningful as receiving, reflecting the values Nicholas demonstrated so long ago. Santa's legacy is also carried forward through books, films, songs, and traditions that keep his story alive in the hearts of new generations. These stories reinforce themes of kindness, courage, and believing in oneself, helping children build confidence and empathy. The magic of Santa also teaches that even the smallest gesture, like a smile, a note, or a gift, can help brighten someone's day. This idea shows that everyone, no matter their age or circumstances, can contribute to making the world a kinder place. Santa's timeless appeal comes from his ability to unite people during a season of warmth, togetherness, and reflection. He stands as a symbol of hope, reminding us that light can shine even in the darkest of winters, both literally and emotionally. Santa's story encourages families to slow down, appreciate one another, and celebrate the small moments that bring joy. Many families create their own traditions based on Santa's story, adding personal touches that make the holiday season uniquely meaningful. These traditions might include reading stories by the fireplace, preparing special meals, or exchanging thoughtful, handmade gifts. Through these acts, families pass down values of love, generosity, and gratitude, principles that Santa's legend has inspired for centuries. Santa's reach extends beyond Christmas, influencing how people think about giving, community, and kindness throughout the year. His presence in schools, charities, and community programs continues to remind people of the importance of caring for one another. Even in modern, fast-paced societies, Santa's simple message remains powerful, that giving freely is one of the most meaningful actions a person can take. Santa's longevity shows that stories with emotional truth can endure for thousands of years, adapting to new cultures while preserving their core message. His story is passed down through word of mouth, traditions, and shared experiences, weaving generations together in a single thread of kindness. Santa's legend also highlights the power of imagination, demonstrating how creative stories can inspire real emotions and positive actions. He reminds us that belief, whether in magic, hope, or kindness, can shape how we see the world and how we treat one another. Santa's character continues to inspire artists, writers, and filmmakers who retell his story in ways that reflect modern values and interpretations. These new versions keep the legend vibrant, ensuring that Santa remains relevant and beloved as the world evolves. Santa's message transcends religion, nationality, and background, reminding us that kindness is a universal language understood by all. For children, Santa represents joy, excitement, and wonder, creating memories that shape their understanding of love and generosity. For adults, he becomes a symbol of nostalgia, reflection, and the desire to keep the magic alive for the next generation. Santa's worldwide presence shows that even one person's kindness, in this case, Nicholas of Myra, can grow into a movement that spans centuries. Nicholas's quiet acts of charity have now blossomed into a global tradition, proving that one good deed can spark countless others. Santa's story invites us to imagine a better world, one where kindness is shared freely and joy is given without expecting anything back. This vision reminds people that they can be a source of light in someone else's life, no matter how small the gesture may be. The enduring power of Santa's legend lies in its ability to inspire generosity, warmth, and love across cultures and generations. Santa's story continues to grow, not because of magic alone, but because people choose to keep his spirit alive each time they give to others. Every Christmas morning, when families share gifts and laughter, they are participating in a tradition that began with one humble man nearly 1,800 years ago. And so, the story of Santa Claus lives on, reminding us that kindness is timeless, generosity is powerful, and the spirit of giving is a gift we can share every day of our lives.